Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to CU Spotlight with Jonathan Taylor, JT.
And Shirley Senn.
And Phil Senn.
Phil Senn, CU Sherpa, hashtag Shirley on the street. Hey guys, look at us.
I know.
Here we are. This is the inaugural quick podcast episode of CU Spotlight with the three of us. And what a journey it's been.
Oh, it's been fun.
So fun. Yeah, let's get into it a little bit. Let's talk about the how, the why, the what, the who, the when of CU Spotlight for the listeners out there and the folks that are supporting us. I think it's a really interesting journey. First off, I just want to say thank you guys for being part of this.
Oh, yeah.
We've been working together now for
2 years.
Is it 2 years now? So that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Why don't we start there and just kind of bring it forward, because I think it's a fun story.
It is.
Yeah. So where do we meet, Shirley?
So, actually, kind of putting in the backstory a little bit, I was at the Filing Big Bright Minds in December of 2023. Phil and I were there in Phoenix, and I ran into Linda White. And
Shout out to Linda White.
Yeah,
Cula.
Yes, but at the time, she was still, when I knew her back, I think I first met her in 2008 when Philip and I were stationed in California for the first time in the Navy. Met her at a credit union opportunity out there and got to know who she was. And the irony was the second time we lived in California, I had started selling Pampered Chef just to raise some extra money.
As one does.
As one does.
They have good products.
Yes. I had put out a catalog for my first show, and Linda bought something.
What did she get?
I don't remember what it was.
Come
but
on.
I mean, we're talking, I hadn't seen somebody
Yeah,
in
yeah.
15 years.
Yeah.
And so, but we kept up on Facebook. But anyway, so I had seen her, so I'd been communicating with her, saw her at the Big Bright Minds, and was talking to her about what I was doing in the CDFI space.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten a really deep passion for doing some grant writing in women's empowerment programs for some credit unions. And I think at that point, 7 or 8 of the credit unions we'd written grants for had one specifically in this women's empowerment. And I was talking to her about it, and as Linda was, it's like, oh my gosh, and she's like, I think you need to present at our annual meeting next year with this guy named JT Taylor. And I was like, okay. She's like, I'll introduce you guys at GAC. So that was kind of the last of that conversation. And so obviously GAC in 2024, I went to the CULA reception, and that's where we met.
Was it at the CULA reception or was it at the underground?
No, it was at the CULA reception.
Oh, it was at the CULA
Yeah.
reception? That was the first thing?
That was the first time we had met.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Because CULA the reception wasn't before. The underground is always the kickoff.
Yeah.
Of
Oh,
GAC.
you're right. So anyway, so it was a Sunday. We met you on a Sunday.
Met
but
you
it was
on a
very
Sunday.
brief.
There's a song in that, isn't there? Met
Yeah.
you on a Sunday.
But
Anyways.
anyway, so
Yeah.
we had met that Sunday.
Yeah.
And then but we hadn't talked to each other about the talking thing yet.
Correct.
About presenting together, and I freaked him out that night because I was like, "Oh, Jonathan," I said, you and I are presenting together," and he thought it was going to be that night. So he had freaked out.
And I could very well be wrong here, and this is where time, changes things. But my memory on it was you threw that at me at the underground event, and thinking I was going to have to speak at the CULA reception that night.
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh crap!" And I'm like, "Did I?" And I'm like, "That is so Linda," and that is and I'm saying that with love, Linda, if you're listening. Where
Please
she's like,
listen.
"Oh, you're fine. Just get up there and talk. You're fine." That's my Linda. And I literally, like, my internal organs liquefied, and I'm like, oh God. And then you're like, oh, no. I mean the CULA conference
In September.
six months from
Yeah.
now or whatever. And I was like, oh, yes.
So that was our first. So here we are already. Okay, we can agree it was on a Sunday, and we can agree that you freaked out. So
I didn't know we were going to have to pre-record this. Like, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
And so I remember that vividly. But I was struck by your very direct interest and passion in what I was doing.
Yes.
With what then was called See You Safe, which was a program that I adopted, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the QSO that I had run as the CEO, See You Soul. Shout out to everybody that was part of that. And it was a program to put together local domestic violence resource centers and our credit union owners in Albuquerque to help combat financial abuse and things of that nature. And I had the idea of bringing technology into that flow because so much of it was very old school, clunky, send over here, duplication of data and efforts, and people were slipping through the cracks, and it was just nothing against what was built. What was built was a start, right? But you know, you fresh eyes, and you come in from experience and whatnot. And so you and I talked, and you were just like, I want to help. And I was like, okay. And I was also standing there with a very lovely, very talented Mariam Trorosian from Safe U from Armenia,
Right.
which was a safety technology app partner that we had partnered with Safe U. Her first credit union event ever. And I bring her to the Super Bowl, GAC, the Alien Airport and Men in Black. Wow. And that was her first event, was that underground event, and we met you immediately, and we just all clicked.
Yep.
And you, from there, we met at the
did.
CULA reception that I didn't have to speak at, but I thought I did for about 2 minutes. And that was wonderful. What a great event. That was like, I was like, I do not want to leave this room because we had to like bolt to go off to another thing.
That's where he mentioned, because I thought we were going to be separating for the evening, and he says, Miriam and I both have to go to a reception, league reception. And I said, oh, which one? And they said, well, we've got to head over to the New Mexico. And I was like, oh,
New Mexico?
I know. I grew up in New Mexico, so I'm coming. So I went with them. And
That's right. And then we hitched our wagons.
And something you don't know, she called me on the way and
Oh, really?
said, hey, there's this new thing I'm going to do.
Okay.
And I was like,
to let you know.
Yeah, just to let you know. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, right on. Well, I have a feeling that wasn't the first time she called and said that.
No.
Yeah, no. I feel like that's a big piece of it. And so, and you weren't there, right?
No,
you were not there
there
that year.
I was home.
And we'll get to when you came into the picture, my friend, because that was a very special moment too. But from there, you were just in. You were present. You were at every one of our meetings. You were part of our 8 a.m. meetings on Friday with Mariam, with other stuff. And it was just, how can we be involved? How can we do this? How can we help? And you brought your own experience to the table on that from a lot of the work that you had done previous to,
Right.
which is why I think kind of Linda put it together. And so fast forward, we started, and that was while I was at See You Soul. Well, unfortunately, through a series of events, you know, we lost one of our credit union owners, a bunch of different things. See You Soul needed to go away. And so I said, okay. I held up the programs. My head went underwater. That was okay. You know, the program survived. And then we said, we're in. We want to keep this thing going. Let's do our own thing there, right? And so we formed FiSafe, right? And FiSafe was the marketing term, right? That was our front end company name for a nonprofit called Purple Bridges, right? Which still exists today. We have a very talented board, and you know, and that has a wonderful mission of combating financial abuse, right? In the credit union space, right? With members and non-members and what have you. But meanwhile, I had opened my big mouth with a buddy of mine at one of the conferences after, I'll admit it, a couple drinks. I had a couple whiskeys, and it was one of those, you know what you should do conversations, which, you know, you have a couple of those drinks and you're with good buddies and you come up with golden ideas. Rarely is there any follow through or follow up. That's the thing. The ideas are gold. And I said, you should create a podcast for your conference. And he was new to the gig, and it was his first time doing this conference, because I said, if you think about your vendor partners, if you think about your sponsors, okay, there's so many events now, and they've got to pick and choose where they're going to vote with their dollars based on impact, based on value overall. Where is my time? Where is my money best spent? Well, if you have an event podcast, okay, where you can highlight those companies, you can provide them with pieces of content. That's content that you yourself as an organization can have and keep and use to promote, create FOMO for this year, to create pieces to promote next year, bring more people. And you get a sponsor for the thing that makes your sponsors feel better about paying the thing. Then that's just win on top of win on top of win. Right. And he said, sounds great, send me a proposal. And I said, crap. I was like, wait, no. I mean, you should do this. I'm the ideas guy. I'm not the actual. And he goes, that's not what I heard. Send me the proposal. And so we started Adventure Tech. Shout out to them, which CUNA Strategic Services and Circle, a collaborative event. From there, the CEO at Nacuso asked us to come to Nacuso. From there, we did Woku, and it just kept going. And I was using those opportunities, number one, to help my friends that do these events. Number two, create awareness around the nonprofit work that we were doing, right? But then also, number three, really shining a light on all the incredible stories that are out there, and also helping some of my sponsor friends, give them pieces of content, right? And so that was just a thing that happened, right? Just fell backwards into a thing, and had to buy the equipment. Had no idea what I was doing, right? Had to buy the equipment and keep going. And then you clipped onto that, because I think there was a time or two, trying to remember, what was
Woku.
Was it Woku? Was that the first one
Yes.
that we did together?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was Woku.
Right.
All right.
Boston.
And so was that the first time that I met you?
Yes.
All right. So Phil, your turn to talk, because I've been talking for way too long. Talk about that and how that whole thing rolled.
So I had gone to a couple of conferences with Shirley, and social interaction's great. I love it. And so we get to Woku, and
In Boston.
Yeah.
in Boston, and our booth is down, like where we're doing the podcast is down on the floor.
Yeah. We're buried in booth row.
We're in booth row. All right. I'm not on the mic yet. I'm just there supporting my wife and enjoying, meeting people.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know. They locked down booth row, and they have everybody going and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I stayed down on the floor and was just interacting with all the fintechs and QSOs and stuff. And I just started telling them about the podcast, trying to promote for people to come over, and was telling them about my wife and everything. And then the next thing you know, I've got them coming over, and they're meeting you, and they're saying, oh, you're like Phil's friend that does the podcast. And we had just met.
Yep.
And then they'd see
I'm like,
Shirley.
Phil, yeah, sure. Phil. Yep.
Yeah. And then they would see Shirley, and they're like, oh, you're Phil's wife. Like, I'm the credit union influencer or something there. And I'm like, no, she's the one I was telling you all the great things about.
Sure.
And it kind of turned into an internal joke a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started.
What I remember about that time was that when you came up to the booth and saw the equipment and everything, it was like a beautiful mind. Like the edges kind of got fuzzy on your vision, and all of the equations and everything started, and you were scanning the equipment like Terminator. It was like brr, brr, little bits of data, and it was Q, 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 and you were like something happened to you, and I saw it in your face as you were looking at this thing, and I think it was the logistics side of your nature naval background, maybe. I don't know what it was, but something happened to you inside.
Yeah, well, I think I've learned a few things about myself and how my brain works. I have this innate ability when I see something, I get interested in it. Now my mind starts spider webbing, and there's so many little neurons firing. I mean,
Yeah.
it reminds me of a comic book hero. Whenever they, like, when Spider-Man first got created, all you see the lines and all the neurons going to all the muscles in his body. That's the way my brain works sometimes.
Sure.
And so when I started seeing all that, I'm like, ooh, there's microphones, there's a board, and like we're recording stuff. Like, where can this go now?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next level?
Oh no, it was like, that's a mess.
Oh yeah, well that's true.
Thank you.
Okay.
Because it was.
Well, the first
I was doing all the things.
and that was the first thing I did is I got online and started ordering things to keep the cables together and the wires.
Like,
and
your
to-
left eye kind of started twitching, and you were like, I got to walk away from this, and I have to do a thing to improve it, right?
Yeah.
And that began your journey as what we lovingly refer to as the CU Sherpa. Because also as part of that, it was, here's a glass of water. Here's this. Here's that. And I just, having done this work in many cases alone, and just, not to say that I didn't have friends around me, but it was me, myself, and I was doing everything, and just not having time for a drink of water, not having time to get a plate of food before they take the food away, just all that stuff. You were just so mindful of the fact that I was pinned down doing this thing, and you were like, he needs water, or you were like, she needs water, or, I was just like,
Like that.
that is so, thank you. And having somebody whose love language is acts of service, I was like, finally found a love of a lifetime. Like, I was like, this guy, like, I'm not going to say I had a man crush, but I was like, this guy he's speaking my language in an act of services way. It was just so lovely. And so meanwhile, while we're doing that, and P.S., folks, that was the most... And I'm saying union in a way in which I love unions, but sometimes it can get a little much, It was the most Southie Boston, right? These people they gave 0 Fs, right?
Yes.
And we had to, we had no carpet showing up. You got to get carpet. Yeah, I know I need carpet. Did you bring carpet? I clearly didn't bring carpet, because I'm asking you about carpet. Well, it'll be $1,800. It'll be, oh my God. They would lock. Remember, it was a logistical nightmare. They'd lock and this has nothing to do with Woku, by the way. Woku is lovely. They had no control over this. It was just, right down to the point where Mary Patouk from Valera is doing her episode with us, and they're bringing crates to load booths in, and they're almost trapping us in these. It was like that scene in the end of Indiana Jones with the Ark of the Covenant. I was like, what, are we getting boxed in here? Are we literally being packed away?
Close your eyes, don't look into the light.
That's crazy. So anyways, that was a very logistically challenging venue. The conference was lovely, but the other thing that was really special about that conference, I didn't realize it was when we first did a thing, was that you also did a thing for the first time at that conference that turned into a thing. And it was because our friend Mike Lawson, shout out to Mike, couldn't go to the conference because, did he have COVID? Or something happened. He was sick. Something
there was a
up.
couple of conferences that year where he was sick.
Something happened. He couldn't go. Or it might have been the flights. Wasn't there a crazy flight thing going on?
Yeah,
it might have been the flight thing.
That was when the airlines got hacked and everybody.
Yes, it was the hack with the thing, and he couldn't fly. That's what it was. Yep. Okay, so Rick, as we say in Boston, irregardless, he couldn't make it, and he wanted to do interviews, and you were like, I can do interviews.
I mean, he and I were scheduled
to
do one, and so he's like, well, you've got a camera. So I walked around and showed him what was going on.
Yeah.
And so at that time, the Shirley on the Street hadn't been named yet.
Right, correct.
Right, we were just doing that, but it was like a thing in the back of my mind. But yeah.
So I mean, that was the first time that you gave a swing of the bat on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. So man, it's amazing what came out of that one conference. And so we had a blast together, you know.
I mean, we ended up in we were doing things in August, in September. We did Reseda.
From there,
Yeah.
it went. I was just like, you guys just want to come to the next one? You know, like, I've got this booked. And we did. And you're right. And we went to Detroit and we did Reseda Group, and we did Cula, of course. We did Cula together. And it just, the hits just kept rolling. CC Way and, Nicuso, and, it just kept going. And really the whole point of it was, again, for me, was to spread the word on the nonprofit work that I was doing, that you were helping with at the time. And so then fast forward, everybody's like, geez, let's go on the story. Fast forward to, we got this thing to a point where it just made sense for us to have a brand that made sense. And we played with a few different names based on people's feedback, and CU Event podcasts, and what was it?
Well, we did almost a year of CU events.
CU Event
and
podcast.
Then having a podcast or video cast.
Right, exactly. And so then, what was it? I think
Kitchen, that was for the soul. See you for the soul.
I wanted to do chicken soup for the CU soul.
Chicken soup for
and
the
unfortunately, I thought that was very clever, but
I even made a logo
unfortunately,
for that.
yeah, you did. And unfortunately, that was just a little too close from a trademark situation. And we got some good advice on that, and that was appreciated, and they were not wrong. But yeah, and so this thing got to a point, and I don't know which one of us. I think it was you, Phil, said, I think we need to officially do a thing and have our own brand and have our own model on this, knowing that in our hearts there's that cause behind it, but ultimately we really wanted to launch something and partner together and really do something that was for profit, right? But the goal of it really was to do what I feel we all had found a passion in, which was shining a light on organizations that needed help. I say it on every podcast. We all suffer from a crisis of awareness. Every single person in this space. I don't care what you do in the movement. We all need help. And help our credit unions tell the stories, help the leagues, help our sponsor friends out there, just help everybody tell their story. And I think the thing that I'm most proud of is that we made a decision to have this be really, the content is cooperative, meaning we're not out to own what we're doing. Let's face facts, nothing's going viral. We're not going to get 1 million hits and make money on a piece. I don't think. Maybe. No. I'm saying that I'm throwing it out into the world so it happens.
Oh, okay.
Phil. But ultimately, we want our guests to be able to post it wherever they want. We want our hosts to be able to post it where they want. We want to be able to post where we want, right?
And one of the most important things about that, in my mind, the three of us, may not have the reach.
Right.
But if they post it out, somebody else sees it and they say, oh, they're having the same problems I am.
Mm-hmm.
The collaborative model of the podcast and nobody owning it, I want that to reach into the market.
Yeah.
And it be the collaboration. There could be a person over here who's a VP of marketing and they're running into something that somebody over here has already fixed.
Right.
And so now by listening to the podcast of that person talking, they connect and they help each other and help the movement.
Yeah, 100%. So here we are. CUSpotlight.com has been launched thanks to this lady over here.
Well, and I will say, we're learning. This is version 1.
We are learning.
But it was important to just put something out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is what's good about what we're doing is that I think too often, even credit unions, when we think about when they're going to release a product or a service or change something, it has to be perfect.
Right.
And we're learning as we go. And I think this is what sets us apart from some of the others is that we're not fully polished.
Right.
We're very organic. We're very us. And I think that's important when we talk about storytelling. We need to ensure that everyone up and down that ladder feels comfortable talking to someone.
Sure.
And there are a ton of good storytellers in the credit union space. We just happened to find some white space where we had people that felt awkward sometimes about they have great ideas, they just didn't know how to put them out there. Or it's just a matter of like being at these conferences that 80 or 100 people are attending and may not be a necessary draw for the larger sponsors, but there's so much good stuff going on here. And so I feel like our niche is something that is extremely important to ensure that all of these different levels of what's going on in the credit union movement get a light.
100%. From day one, when I was asked to do this proposal, probably the second thing I did, other than trying to figure out, can I borrow the podcast equipment from the CCUA, was call Mike Lawson, right? Because, he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's started this a decade before anybody had even thought about it. None of us had our finger on the pulse of podcasting or video casting or any of that stuff. And so he deserves a bouquet of flowers when it comes to all the credit in the world. And I love the man. I just think he's amazing. And so the last thing I wanted was any perceptions of competition, because in many, many cases, we were at certainly the first one and the second one and the third one. We were at the same conferences, right? And he was so sweet. He was like, there are too many stories and, there's too many events. I can't go to everything. And even at the ones that I'm at, I can't cover everything. I can't capture everything. And our formats are different. We're doing a different thing. And so, I think that that's important, because that's probably the number one thing I've always heard is like, oh, well, are you? And I'm like, no, we're good. We're good. We you can have an apple and an orange, both in the same fruit basket. And in sense, there's been others, right, that have, spawned up in the space. And that's needed, because there's too many stories. There's not enough time. And there's too many events now. And so we're not shy about doing any event anywhere where we can add value. Bank Social, right? The QSO that I work for, helping them with getting to events and providing value. Empathy certainly got tremendous value out of sponsoring what we did at GAC this year. Yep. And they're now part of a couple awards that we just took down.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited about that.
So thanks you don't ever have to ask when it comes to submitting for awards, because it kind of does make it almost extra fun, because then if we don't get it, I don't have a clue. And that's what happened here. You took those podcast episodes from the 1934 event we did, which is an 8-league event they do at GAC at the Martin Luther King Jr. Library, which is a lovely spot to do a podcast. And you submitted those, didn't you?
I did. The ones that we did, they were special to my heart, which was the Life Over Debt initiative with Andy Janning and his initiatives, and the credit unions that are all a part of that initiative to find ways to help cancer survivors and those that are suffering with terminal cancer, to help alleviate some of the burden of their debt while they're going through those circumstances. And yes, so I submitted just the individual. They weren't really edited; they were raw. But at the end of the day, what was the draw was the story. Yeah. And
the content was solid.
Yeah, it was the content was solid. And our storytelling isn't just the podcast; it's the writing. We won an award for a story I had written about comparing the credit union movement to the Sequoia National Forest. Yeah. And a shout out to CU Insight, because I went to them a year and a half ago and asked if I could start writing, and so they gave me quarterly spots, and that was my December story. And it's just things like that. We all have different ways of creating opportunities to level up what's going on in the credit union space. And I think we just need to use our talents in the way that we feel comfortable. And for me, this is the way to feel comfortable about that. I've loved this movement for almost 35 years, but also within that, there were people that doubted me or didn't think that I could do something. And of course, when you feel that way, you start to act that way. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, I'm just going to go for it. And, and I will say, having the encouragement from Phil and having the alignment that you and I had just put me on a whole nother level. And I love what we're doing. I don't mind. We make mistakes. We make fools of ourselves because at the end of the day, I think people want to know that you're just like them.
Yeah.
But I'm very proud of where we've come, what we're doing, and, learning new things that we go along the way. I'm a full believer in the combination of the human side and the AI side. We have to embrace both.
Yeah.
And that, that's the human side designed the website, for those of you that think that it was just all AI done. And I used AI to take my vision and put it in. So, this is what we're doing with the podcasting. Take advantage of the technology, take advantage of opportunities that we have to help other credit unions and other communities understand what's out here and the stories that are here. This has been a great opportunity here at the Association of Vermont Credit Unions. And I'm just looking so forward to so many more things. We've gotten callbacks.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting opportunities to repeat. And to me, that's an affirmation that people believe in what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. I want to pivot because that was a perfect segue on the technology piece. But before I do, just for the listeners, the awards we received from the Communicator Awards.
Yes.
And we received Distinction
We
Award?
received 2 awards of distinction, which were for the individual podcast, and we received their highest award, which is the Award of Excellence for the writing article.
And I was blown away by some of the competition.
Yeah, competition
That was part of this thing.
was like Disney, Pepsi, NAACP. Some pretty significant names. But this award platform is to recognize achievements in marketing, promotion, and technology in the midst of all of that.
Love that. Love that. So, speaking of technology,
Yes.
and we talked about that buzzword that I came up with back before the war, when early in my first trip to New Mexico, when we sat down with the statewide Domestic Violence Resource Center and one of our technology partners and the credit unions that we're supporting, I was like, God, it's like we need to take technology, but we can't replace people. We need the empathy, right? We need the empathy. We need the technology. We got to put those together. We need to create Tempathy. Great Tempathy. And I was like, well, that clicks together nicely, and I love merging words together because I'm a dork. And I'm like, Tempathy, I just came up with a new word. Look at me. And everybody's like, great, JT, that's really clever. Okay. But really, that's evolved into a great, I don't want to say buzzword, but it's a word that people love.
Yeah.
And it is the intersection of technology and empathy. And I think that is a really, really important discussion point, particularly in the space that we live in, right? Which is the credit union space, because the people helping people mantra, more and more and more, we are learning the hard way and the easy way that we have to embrace technology. We have to do more with it. And so we are launching, official announcement, hot take, guys, hot take. We are launching our podcast, ongoing podcast, not an event podcast, just an ongoing podcast called, drumroll, Tempathy Talks. And the whole point of that is to create an environment that we can shine a light on those organizations, on those fintech providers, on those different QSOs, on that have technology and empathy solutions, but also those credit unions that either have a need or have examples of utilizing technology and Tempathy in their credit unions, and the impact of injecting Tempathy into their organizations to not only help their members, but also to transform their organizations. And so that is what we're doing with Tempathy Talks, and I love it. I love it. I love it. It's not chicken soup for the sea soul, but I'll get over that eventually. But it's ours, and we came up with it, right? Collectively. I think it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful show. So we are lining up right now our list of guests, and that's going to be an ongoing podcast that we're very hopeful to have a big announcement on a sponsor to help fund. and support us as we continue the work in between events to keep the word going on all of the good work, but specifically in that vein of technology and empathy.
Yes.
And
I
this,
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, this podcast is one that I think every credit union who says, I want to do more, but I don't have the people or the time.
Sure.
This is the one that they need to listen to, because we're going to be finding those partners out there that's going to be able to save them the time and the money to be able to do more for their members.
Right.
With empathy.
With empathy. So that we're going to bring the technology to them. They have the heart and the want. We're going to help merge those so that they can support their members.
100%. And one of the things that I love about so many of our fintech friends, that they've become our friends, right? I mean, from doing all these podcasts and all these events that we've done together, is that there's so many of them have this incredibly empathetic heart at the core of what they're trying to do. I've joked that in some cases they're more member centric than some of the credit union organizations that are out there, and they really believe in the movement, and they really want to. This is where they want their home to be. Yeah. So we're going to help support that, and we're going to be that intersection where technology in the fintech space, or the QSO space, of course, right? Both of those can be one and the same, and the credit union side, and serving those and solving for those human problems that we all have. I think it's going to be really great. I'm excited to see. I can't wait for us to go, all right, a year from now, let's play back that podcast and let's listen, knowing what we're at, knowing where we're at now, and knowing what we're doing. Yeah. I think that's really exciting.
You know what I want to do? I want to, a year from now, play back that podcast and then measure the data and the impacts that it's had. I think that's part of the storytelling.
For sure.
And I think that's going to be the key metric.
Right.
Is this podcast got these two people together. They did this great thing.
Yep.
Look at the impact.
Well, and we've heard that, right? We've heard from organizations that, I mean, great example, shout out to Tap Engine, right? I mean, they were like, JT, you were not buying your drinks and dinner tonight. Like, it's on us. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, we took that podcast that you did with us, and we led with that as we were trying to market to new credit union owners. And we were able to raise millions of dollars to get our QSO stood up, to get those early adopters going. And I was like, I got clumped. I was like, are you guys serious right now? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I just wanted to do a thing to help a friend, you know what I mean, in the space. And it became a tool for them to grow. And I was like, once I heard that, I said, okay, we've got something here. This can be impactful. And now you look at what they're doing in the space, how much they've grown. They have their own conference now.
They do. I went last
which,
year.
oh, by the way, we're probably going to be doing that one. It's so cool to start to see some of the impacts. And I'm just really, really excited to help. And I think that's going to be wonderful. I can't thank you guys enough. CUSpotlight.com is the site. It is a sandcastle, as every website is. The tide is coming in twice a day. We're working on it. You're working on it. And I'm just really, the momentum, the awards, all of this stuff it's happened really quickly. But you think about the fact that it's really happened on the foundation of all of the work, all of the shows, all of the stuff we've done over the last few years. So thank you to everybody that has said yes to having us come and support and help. Thank you to everybody who said yes to coming on and doing a podcast. And the future's bright. We got to wear shades.
And thank you to everybody who gives us feedback.
Yeah.
It helps us improve. We listen and we make adjustments.
Yeah, 100%. And we're going to keep doing different things. I mean, I think Nacusa this year was a great example of let's take a thing out of the mind of JT and go, hey, let's not just do a video cast. Let's do a newscast. And let's just not do a newscast. Let's do an Anchorman themed newscast. And we'll do Channel 34 News QSO team. And I'll be John Burgundy. And Phil, you were champ. And just like doing different, it's got to be fun, right? We got to do things that are different, that are fun, that make impact. And that's what we're going to keep doing. You know, if it can't be fun, it can't be done. So thank you guys. Excited. Thank you, listeners, for starting this journey. And I hope you guys continue on this journey with us as we have some incredible guests lined up with some incredible, impactful solutions and stories that are hopefully, and I truly believe it will, change the movement for the better.
And if you're a credit union or a partner that you have something that you want to have out there, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
You can go out to our website.
100%. If you're an event that wants to do something different and fun and unique, and you want to build that model that I laid out, let us know. If you're a sponsor that wants to do something more impactful and fun and different than just having a booth in booth row, and nothing against booths and nothing against booth rows and all the love and respect, but you're in booth row with a bunch of other booths. If you want to differentiate yourself and you want to have something that's more impactful and get some content out of it too, let us know.
Well, that's how Shirley on the Street came about.
That's it. All right, guys. This has been great. As we said, CUSpotlight.com. Check us out, and we will see you soon.
On the flip side.
On the flip side.